Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. So in today's video, we are going to go over a buyer's guide for the Lexus GX. Behind me is the third generation 2024. This is a Premium Plus. I made a full detailed review on this exact truck. So if you want to see all the specs for this particular model, definitely take a look at that. But for today, we are going to go over a lot of the history with the Lexus GX, where it started, the changes that it's been through up until the latest generation that you see behind me. So if you're in the market for a luxury focused SUV and this is the option that you want to go with, hopefully today's video can help dial it in and give you all the information that you need for this Lexus GX. So let's start off with a little bit of history with the Lexus GX and what this SUV is from Lexus. Well, let's start off with this being a mid-size and a full-size luxury-focused SUV. It's a mid-size because of how small it is, but it's a full-size because it has a 3-row, so it's a little bit larger. But it's not quite a full-size 3-row SUV, and it's a little bit bigger than a mid-size because it has that 3rd row. So it's a nice in-between for not being too large, but also giving you the extra seating for those additional people. Now, this is also based off of the Toyota Land Cruiser Prado, which is not a vehicle sold in the United States. So that was introduced in other markets, and then the Lexus GX was based off of that and brought to the United States. This was also first introduced as the GX550 in 2002. This was the 3rd SUV in Lexus's lineup. So this started as a 2003 model year. First generation ran until 2009. Now there was also a GX development program that began in 1999. So obviously a few years before its actual introduction. And Toyota and Lexus used the Prado as its inspiration towards this Lexus version. Now this also shared similar components to the Toyota 4Runner, ironically, like the suspension, the adaptive variable suspension, rear air suspension, downhill assist control. This was actually pretty well advanced with the technology that it had that is still utilized today, even with the Lexus that you see behind me. Now the first generation Lexus was powered by a 4.7 liter V8, which is why it was called the GX470, 4.7 liter, and it had 235 horsepower, 320 pound-feet of torque. Paired to a 5-speed automatic, it could tow right around 5,000 pounds. And then in 2004, Lexus actually created a frame-bolted tubular hitch to increase that towing from 5,000 to 6,500 pounds. So with that simple change, this was even more capable to tow a lot more. It also had ground clearance of 8.3 inches and an approach angle of 30 degrees, breakover angle of 29 degrees. Now it was a 2-row with the optional 3rd row. You do have the 3rd row in the current model behind me, and it also had the side opening rear tailgate. For these newer models, we do have the glass that does open, and then you also have the power liftgate that does open up. I'm not sure if that is a hit or a miss with previous Lexus owners being so used to that swing gate that opened sideways versus upright. So a big change there. I know a lot of people were used to the side opening. 2004 also had some more upgrades than just the towing. Transmission was updated. There was an optional KDSS system, which is the kinetic dynamic suspension system. Basically, that is your sway bar disconnect for independent front suspension. It freed the stabilizer bars for more articulation, and if you're familiar with off-roading, something like a Jeep Wrangler has a solid front axle, which of course gives it a lot more articulation. With an independent front suspension, having the sway bar disconnect does give you more articulation to help it be more capable in off-roading situations, and especially a vehicle like this that's going to be overlanding, that is definitely very helpful. This also helped improve with less body roll on road. I talked about that in the full review. And then in 2005, the Lexus GX actually gained 35 horsepower. In 2006, however, it had changes to the SAE engine, which actually dropped it 7 horsepower. And then in 2008, there were significant updates. There were exterior cosmetic changes, a darker grille, graphite wheels, as well as some chrome, and then wood interior panels too. This actually got a lot of rewards for the first generation too. In 2003, 2004, it received the Four-Wheeler of the Year award. 2005, highest ranked luxury SUV. 2006, best resale value award. I could honestly say most of those are still accurate for the latest generation as well. And now that brings us on to the 2nd generation for the Lexus GX. The name actually changed from the 470 to the 460. This ran from 2010 until 2023. So of the 3 generations, this one ran for 13 years. It was definitely time for a refresh and a complete new design. But the 470 or 460 indicated a 4.6 liter V8, so slightly smaller However, this had 301 horsepower, 329 pound-feet of torque. There was a new 6-speed automatic transmission, and this was also now body-on-frame construction. It had full-time 4-wheel drive, center-locking differential. Towing remained the same at 6,500 pounds. And this is when Lexus also incorporated the flip-up glass. So as you can tell, that was retained for the 3rd generation. It still had the side opening tailgate, however. Also for the 2nd generation, the 3rd row was an option, and it shared many of the off-roading technologies that I mentioned for the 1st generation. As far as the suspension goes, hill start assist, everything like that was still carried over to the 2nd gen. There were also now a lot of standard safety features that were added, including knee airbags, pre-collision, lane departure, a lot of cameras were added, crawl control was added, downhill assist, and active crawl control. So the 2nd generation is when we really started to get a lot of not only on-road safety capabilities, but off-roading technology as well to really make this a well-rounded SUV. A side note, in 2012, the GX460 was replaced with the GX400 for the China market. USA, it stayed the same. This switched to a 4-liter V8, so it seems like they kept getting smaller and smaller. In 2017, that was finally discontinued, but for the USA market, it remained the same for that 2nd generation. In 2013, there was a facelift for the GX460, a spindle grille, LED headlamps, DRLs, fog lights were optional, and for the USA, the price was actually reduced $4,700. So it was more technology, more features, a lot more options, and a lower cost, which was very cool to see, especially with how popular this vehicle is. And then for the 2016 year, Lexus introduced captain's chairs for the 2nd row as an option. In 2020, there was another facelift, more angular grille, triple beam headlight design, off-road package, 360 camera system, transmission cooler, skid plates, the list goes on with the upgrades for 2020. So it was very nice to see all those additions. 2022, there was a new infotainment system, as well as a Blackline edition, which gave you a few more goodies that you could go with. And then in 2023, Eminent White Pearl was an option that was added to the color choices. And so now in the year 2023, this is when we had the switch. You can still buy a 2023 2nd generation. 2023, the 24s were introduced, but you can't buy these until the year 2024. So there was a transition phase there, leading us to the brand new 3rd generation 2024 Lexus GX550. There are 2 different options that you can go with, the GX550 or the 550H, which I haven't seen yet. I'm not sure when that is coming. This has a boxier design, as you can tell. It's also built on the GAF platform. Basically, that's Lexus and Toyota's fancy term for body on frame. Still provides you with a nice smooth suspension, however. And along with the 2 different options, the 550 and the 550H, there are 6 different trim levels that you can go with. We have the Premium, Premium Plus that you see behind me, Luxury and Luxury Plus, and there's also going to be an Over Trail and an Over Trail Plus. These are going to be 2 of the top trim levels that are going to be a lot more off-road focused. And for the Over Trail and Over Trail Plus, those are only 2-row SUVs. For the rest of the trim levels, including the Premium Plus behind me, the 3rd row is standard. So if you like a 3rd row, you have to opt for one of those 4. Over Trails are just going to be 2-row SUVs. Now, this is powered by a 3.4-liter twin-turbo V6, 349 horsepower, 479 pound-feet of torque. So a far cry from the original 1st generation with that big V8. We have more power, more efficiency, smaller engine, 10-speed automatic now for this GX series. Ground clearance has increased from 8.3 to 8.7 inches since the 1st generation. Approach and departure angles aren't quite as good, 26 degrees and 23 degrees. I'm sure you could do maybe a little bit lift. Maybe the Over Trail and Plus are going to have some better numbers for that. And now let's talk about any recalls for the Lexus GX. In its time since 2002, the only thing that I could find, 2010 is the only year that you should avoid. There was a lift-off oversteer. Basically, the vehicle stability control wasn't acting fast enough. And get this, it was a software update. All they had to do, it was a recall for that. You had to get some software updated. And from what I've found, that was it. In all of the years of the GX, that is the only thing that I have found. So honestly, like I said earlier, Lexus and Toyota, #1 for reliability for a reason. Yes, they do have some recalls pop up, but even with that, it was as minor as something needed to be updated and you were good to go. No mechanical issues I have found with the GX series in general. So as we now set off behind the wheel for the 2024 Lexus GX550, I just finished doing the full detailed review earlier today. So if you want to see all the specs for this particular model in greater details, definitely take a look at that. It also gave me a little bit more seat time behind the wheel in order to film this video. And I gotta say, this is such a cool luxury focused SUV that can pretty much do everything. If you're looking for that luxury, you want something that's going to be comfortable, well refined, something that you can drive every single day, but you also want the utilities of having an SUV. This can tow, this can go off-road, you have different driving modes, you have the center locking differential. This is something that you can take off the pavement, and while it's not focused to be like a Jeep Wrangler or something hardcore to take off-road, this is definitely something that you can take off the pavement, and you have those capabilities in order to get through some trails if you're going camping, something like that. A lot of Toyota and Lexus enthusiasts like to go overlanding more so than off-roading. So overlanding is a little bit more, some obstacles here and there. It's not true hardcore off-roading. If there's a differentiation between overlanding and off-roading. But this is something that is going to give you the best of everything. As far as driving it on the road, it is so comfortable. It is what you would expect from a Lexus, especially at this price point. And with the 6 different trim levels that are available, you can set it up and buy the one that best suits your budget and what you're looking for out of the vehicle. Like I mentioned earlier too, they have the over trails that will be available. So those might have a little bit more ground clearance, a little bit more off-roading capabilities if that's something that you are leaning towards. So if you're in the market for a luxury SUV, and if you're also looking for something that's going to be very reliable, Toyota and Lexus have been in #1 for reliability for several years, even decades. It's definitely something that you will be able to own for quite some time, and a lot of Toyota and Lexus owners do that. Usually they own a vehicle for around 10 years or more. Hence why for the second generation, it also took Lexus so long, because a lot of owners own them for several years, and I guess every 10 years or so, Lexus went a little bit longer for this redesign. But in 10 years, you can get the upgrade to the next one, which is what we're in currently. But yeah, if you want something that you can daily drive without question, and you want something that's capable 3-row, but it's also not overly large. As you can tell, not a whole lot of space with the 3rd row up, but if you have a lot of overlanding equipment, you're going to have trailers and other things anyway. But it's definitely a cool option. I can see the appeal why this is such a popular vehicle. It is expensive, but you're buying a lot more than just this one vehicle with the capabilities that it has. So if you're in the market for a luxury SUV, honestly, put this at the top of your list. It's less expensive than some of its other competitors. There's going to be some that are going to be fairly similar. And back from the test drive now, behind the wheel for the Lexus GX550. I gotta say, I am super impressed with not only how this drives, but how it looks and the technology features and everything that you are getting with this $70,000 luxury focused SUV. It's something that I honestly would want to add to my list. I may go with an Overtrail or an Overtrail Plus. I don't really need a 3rd row, but I would want some more of those off-roading capabilities. But with the Premium Plus behind me, this would be fantastic for daily driving, getting a little bit of extra space, and just having a very cool boxy SUV. Now, this is also something that is incredibly popular here at the dealership. This is day 2 of me filming this vehicle because there's been so many test drives, so many people with the 1st or 2nd gen Lexus GX models or some other variant of the Lexus SUV that are really wanting to see what this new 550 has to offer. It is such a popular vehicle, way more popular than I anticipated, but it seems to be something that a lot of people would like. It's almost like a mini G-Wagon in a sense. That is something that's also very popular, but the price tag on this is something that is definitely a lot more affordable. But that is going to wrap it up for the buyer's guide on the Lexus GX. Again, check out the full detailed review for this luxury focused SUV. I'll have that down in the description. And I hope you found this video to be helpful in your search for buying a new luxury SUV. Give it a huge thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and consider smashing that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our daily uploads. I will see you all in the next video.